Hi, I'm sure you're all familiar with Microsoft Excel that you can see in front of you. What you're probably not familiar with is a cloud computing extension that we provide to Excel users. It's a very simple add-in that is very simply installed, and this gives you access to data that's being stored and computed on the Amazon cloud, and a data stream that we have in the cloud is the Twitter data stream. So every time somebody tweets, Twitter gathers that data, and then they're producing a social media stream. Let's call it the Twitter stream. So let's see what we can do with that. So I'm going to drop in an application block here, the Twitter stream. I'm going to choose text, which essentially is what people are tweeting. As you can see, there are 36 columns here with all kinds of useful information that can be mined. But let's just stick with the text right now, and let's choose a 2-hour interval, well, 2 hours of time within this particular interval. There are many intervals. It's a real-time live stream, but we're just going to look at some historic data in this brief demo. Okay. So once I've selected the intervals and the columns, I say done, and blocks appear. This essentially is a program that's ready to be run in the cloud. So that's how easy it is to actually produce something. So if I were to actually just start this, it would just download 2 hours worth of tweets, which wouldn't be very interesting. So let's make things a little more interesting by dropping a formula block in here. This formula block I'm going to call has Coke, and in here I'm going to drop a string function which will allow me to look inside the tweet, the stream of tweets, or text as it's called here, and I'm going to look for the word Coke. There we are, and done. Don't really need to see this. I'm going to put as Coke up here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to extend this so you can see the tweet. They're normally quite big, and we'll just run this. So what this does is that you've actually programmed an application that's running in the cloud from Excel. So what will happen is it will go through the stream, and it will, for any tweet within that 2-hour period, it will find a mention of Coke. So there we are. I really need some Coke is the first tweet that we found, and we'll find many others too. I nearly choked on my Coke, and so on. Okay, great, that's pretty much done. Let's make this more interesting by copying and pasting this and changing this to has Pepsi, and changing this to Pepsi. I suppose we have to change this to has Pepsi. Okay, that's good. We probably don't need this data, so let's get rid of it. Let's run. And this time we should see all the mentions of Pepsi within this 2-hour window of time here. We could be doing this in real time. In this particular case, we're doing it on historic data. Programs for real time or historic don't change. It's just a matter of specifying. I could specify from now until the next 3 weeks over here. Same program would run. So let's see how many times Pepsi is mentioned. Okay, there we have some mentions of Pepsi. Looks like there are fewer mentions. We're finished already. Okay, so let's make it more interesting and say Well, do we have Pepsi or has Coke? But what might be even more interesting is if we were to add another formula here, where we'd say something like Coke count. I guess I should capitalize it. Coke count. And here we'll just add a little has Coke as a little summer as a summation. I can take that and I can clone it, and I can make this a Pepsi count. And let's see. Let's compare the two. Okay, I think we're all set to go. We'll get rid of this data and we'll run this program. And now what we will get is we'll get all mentions of Pepsi and all mentions of Coke in that 2-hour period of the Twitter stream. But even more importantly, we'll actually see a count here, and we'll be able to compare how many times Coke is mentioned against Pepsi. So there we go. So Pepsi's already been mentioned Coke's been mentioned 7 times, Pepsi 0, 12 0, okay. Pepsi's making a comeback, but somehow I don't think it's going to get as many. So there we are, we finished our computation. There were 17 mentions of Coke and 5 mentions of Pepsi. We could have made this more interesting by putting Coke up here and Pepsi here, and selecting this set and using Excel's built-in graph to actually show us that. And in fact, we can get rid of the data, run this program again, and if all goes well, we'll kind of see a real-time version of that. So now I'm running exactly the same program. I could have changed the times. Maybe people drink Pepsi and Coke at different times. That'd be interesting to find out, you know. Maybe people like Pepsi in the morning and Coke the rest of the day, or vice versa. Well, there we are. Now we can kind of see Coke is way more than Pepsi for this time interval. Okay. Of course, we can change the time interval. We can actually change the day. So let's, or the month, we can say 12. Let's change this to 12. Oops, month. And let's get rid of the data and run it again. This is a different 2-hour interval, and we may get some different results. In fact, you probably want to run this on a month's worth of data, or a year's worth of data, or you might want to be running it on real-time data so you can actually see what the real-time numbers are. Well, there we go. Oh, yeah, we've chosen a time period where Pepsi seems to be more popular than Coke. Interesting. Okay. Is Coke going to make a comeback? No, it didn't. Okay, so we can see it was actually pretty even at the end of the day. It was 10 mentions of Coke and 10 mentions of Pepsi, although the graph seems to show more red than blue. But that's how easy it is to write cloud applications that look at brand information in social media streams.